Calm down. I'm trying to keep it together because once again, I'm starting a video from a place of anger. Even though I have some really happy things to talk about, I got to get something off my chest, and I'm starting this video almost in a place of rage. And here at the Church of Elvis and even more Latter-day Saints, which I'm the founder, pastor, spiritual advisor of, we don't like this trend. You know, the big bad people on Wall Street, volatility dogs, sniffing out volatility. They'll tell you the trend is your friend. And they may be right, but not in this lifestyle. It's not. I don't like this trend. You know, we're the fastest growing religion in Northeast Fulton County now. And everyone that's a member here understands that this is a lifestyle. This is not a hobby. Take it serious. I've already been banned from the Hofferman Post, okay? That's how serious we take it. But I'll say it, I've been assaulted by the youths of the vinyl world, the youths of the vinyl community. And it's hurtful because I was a stalwart, a defender of the youths, people born after CDs, welcoming. I had their side, and I'll tell you how I had their side, okay? But I'm off that mark now. Now, I went to my local. This is where it all happened. And when I say local, I mean my local record store. Okay, that's what we say, local. It's kind of a cool way to say it, local. And it's generally the closest, but not always, but the one you go to the most. You might call your friend, how's your local? You go into your local. You want to grab lunch and throw a couple burgers down our throat and hit our locals? Right there, I said locals. That's more than one. So we could go to his local, my local, okay? Someone might be like, where the hell's Rev? He's been gone 6 weeks. He said he's going to his locals, not local, okay? So people know that there's a time difference. So I went to my local. And again, this is a way of life. So it's not fun, okay? When I go to a record store, it's not fun. It's business. It's serious. I'm certainly not there to say hi to people and play grab ass and talk about boxes, okay? I'm there to get music. Generally don't make eye contact with anyone. Most of the time I leave empty-handed now. Perfectly fine. So this time I found one record, and there was a youth working behind the counter, and I slid my record, and he looked at it and looked at me and said, oh, you're a big fan of the Shoegaze. I said, what? He said, you like Shoegaze? And I said, I don't understand. He said, the music, the style of music, Shoegaze, you like it by buying this album. And I felt this like cold, like this demon leaving me, and there's just like cold clamminess come over me that turned into this like anger. And I got real close like this. I said, say it one more time. And he did. He said, Shoegaze. I'll say this. I'm not proud about what happened next, but I'm certainly not embarrassed. Someone went to the urgent care. It wasn't me. I had to explain that it's called Shoegaze. And I would appreciate you stop trolling me and the music I love. Because you know what? I lived Shoegaze when it came around. Not everyone survived Shoegaze. I did. It was hard. It was loud. Okay? Not everyone made it. And you know, when Ride came around the first time around, I was in the streets listening to Ride, seeing them. When Catherine Wheel came around, I was in the streets listening to them, seeing them. When Slow Dive came around, I was in the streets seeing them. I was in the streets! So, put some respect on it. I understand in the UK you can call it trainer's gaze, but generally we call it shoegaze, and I want you to respect it. I want the youths to respect shoegaze and its history, its importance. And I'm just gonna say it now. I've defended you calling it vinyls, okay? Lots of people make fun of you for calling it vinyls, and I didn't care. I was just glad you're in the hobby. But it's vinyl, and I'm going to give you a way to remember it, so you don't look like an idiot. You might have a partner in your life, okay? Someone who's close. I'll say it. Maybe they're a lover, part-time, full-time. I don't know your life. And you might be intimate with that lover, and maybe you want to get weird. Okay, it's a free country. And you say, hey, do you want to put on the latexes? It's not latexes. You say, do you want to put on the latex? Do you want to get weird and put on the latex? No one says latexes, okay? So remember that. Latex, vinyl, okay? Both, I believe, carbon-based products. So I'm just sick and tired of defending the use. The album was lush. Spooky, 4AD, released in 1992, I believe. This was a record I should do, because the vinyl community is obsessed with lists. I should do the top 10 records that were stolen from me in college, and this would be one of them. Fucking pissed. Produced by Robin Guthrie, as you probably know, from the great Cocteau Twins. And Lush being probably, was this peak shoegaze for Shoegaze 1.0? It might have been peak shoegaze, because lad culture and Britpop and grunge kind of consumed this. But I think they played Lollapalooza. And I love this album. And this remaster is very, very good. It's done from the analog tapes, for those that care. And they really hit it out of the park. I will say that I think it deserved a little bit better packaging, because the 4AD art, and if you have original 4ADs from a long time ago, they're textured, and the inner's cool, and the art is always sublime with 4AD. But I wish they would have done a little bit more with it. But that's just because I love this album so much, and it brings back great memories of seeing Lush. And by far my favorite release from them, Nothing Natural, is just such a great sounding track. And you play this record loud, and it's a lot of fun. So this was the Sneaker Gaze album that I got, and it's a true story. I had to take a break recording because I was getting severe thunderstorm alerts as I was recording, and they're loud, and they've been relentless lately, which isn't unusual at this time of year, and now we're getting more from the Gulf. But that being said, it kind of plays into a little bit of what I want to talk about. I'm going to pontificate about something I really don't know a lot about. But I was telling a jazz bum at one point, I lost a preamp to an electrical strike and surge. And I had one of those fancy power surge protector power conditioners, and it failed. Absolutely failed. I heard the glass panel snap from another room. To the manufacturer's credit, though, I mailed them the box, took pictures of my amp, and they cut me a check right away. So that was very cool. So I don't take any chances. But when it's quiet after these storms, and you know you're going to get more, I tend to play quiet music. Now, this is when I'm going to loosely talk about New Age music. Because just when I think I know what it is, I don't. I do know that I had family members that used to play George Winston on repeat, just over and over, like on a loop, each season, and burn a hole in your brain. I know that was kind of quasi-New Age music. But Fred Putterman famously called the Church of Elvis and even more Latter-day Saints a New Age religion. And I agree with that. We are a lifestyle. But there are New Age artists who, you know, there's that blurry line between New Age and ambient, who don't separate their teachings and philosophies from their music, and can get a little cultish, Now, it's important to remember, we are not a cult, okay? We have members that are former cult members And we do well with that. But we ourselves are not a cult. It's important I say that because I want to stay on YouTube. But when it is quiet, you listen to quiet music during these storms. And I feel like New Age people or New Age music lovers have kind of co-opted or taken or backdated music that wasn't considered that. And I think they kind of think Satie, or they definitely think Satie influenced New Age music. Definitely influenced sculptors and artists, painters, etc. But this is Wave Notation 3 from We Release Whatever the F We Want. It's Eric Satie, 1984, and the pianist is Satsuki Shibano. Look at this cover, how cool this is. There she is. I don't think this ever got a North American release. This is a series, I believe, of 3 records in the Wave Notation series from We Release Whatever the F We Want. But it's beautiful. And then at certain moods, Satie is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I love the vignettes. I love how they end. I love how they start with just, you don't even know if your amp's on. They're so quiet in their start. It's just fantastic. Really, really like it. Now, this is a reissue, of course, and a remaster. Half-speed remaster. If you're picky about pressings, just on the side note, and you probably should be with Satie, it's good. It's not very good. So if you can play one before you buy it or get a play testing from someone who's already owned it, do that. But it is a great remaster. I don't have anything to compare it to, but it sounds great. Again, just the pricing's a little dicey. Let's stay in Japan because Japan's associated a lot with New Age music in some ways. And some people think like Midori Takada, Through the Looking Glass, they might think that's New Age or ambient or both. Everyone knows that. But I took a blind buy on Silent Echo, Sounds of the Universe. Definitely looked either New Age or ambient or both. And I was not familiar with the artists. Fuimo Mayashita. I total blind buy. I just love the cover so much. I didn't think it was going to be a risky because I kind of like both aspects of what it could be in my mind. Now, this is a guy, he's no longer with us, but this is a guy that definitely saw himself as a healer, as a philosopher, as a scientist, and that his music was key to those things that he was preaching or discussing. Now, it is New Age, big time. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't like it. It comes off a bit cheesy. It's trying to open portals that just don't open or take you on journeys and you don't go anywhere. But this man was very popular in Japan and he had records that sold in the hundreds of thousands. And he really was about using music to heal. And that's a big thing with me. You know, I've been listening to music like that. But in all honesty, I didn't care for it. It felt forced, contrived, and like, you know, hyper Sedona, if you know what I mean. So Silent Echo, Sounds of the Universe, it's kind of a thumbs down for me. There's the Obi. Oh, and there's a picture of him. There you go. Now, getting far away from New Age music, but not entirely. MPS Records reissue did, I'm going to struggle with pronouncing this, Janjir Bali, Tony Scott and the Indonesian All-Stars, a hyper rare jazz record. Now I say New Age in the sense that Tony Scott has been known with some kind of combining some aspects of other nations' music and his music and jazz and creating kind of this Zen New Age mindset in the 60s with some of his releases. He was an adventurous guy. He traveled the world. But this record is fantastic. It's Tony Scott and some great players from Indonesia who were huge fans of American jazz. And they weren't quite up to snuff, so they got together and they practiced, and they approached Tony about touring and doing a record. And by the time they got to this, which is, I think this is 68, when it originally came out, and it goes for a fortune, the original. They really produced something amazing. It's a bit of a history lesson in jazz in the sense that you have your bebop, hard bop, even a little Dixieland, etc. But definitely some of the, not overtly, but some of the Indonesian, Southeast Asian music combined with the jazz. That makes it a really interesting listen and an enjoyable listen. The other thing is MPS, the booklet that came with this book is absolutely amazing. Page after page of just incredible history of the music, of the musicians, what was going on culturally, politically in Indonesia in the 60s, and kind of the tightrope that some of these guys had to walk through the various different leaders and cultural wars within the country. But it is extremely well done, and the value for this is also really good. For those who care, it's a AAA mastering, and I've listened to this a bunch. Again, it's not a full-on Indonesian record. It's more a jazz record. But the way they weave in some of the Indonesian sounds is really, really phenomenal. And this is one of my favorite releases of 2023, at least one of my favorite reissues. Because again, it was a very rare record. And Tony Scott, he's just an adventurous guy. He traveled the world. He wasn't afraid to mix it up with all different types of cultures and play his music and learn from it and come back and record some of his own music from what he learned from abroad. And I would think proto New Age and some of his stuff for sure. That did very well. So anyways, Janjir, Bali, Tony Scott, and the Indonesian All-Stars. So that's all I got to show. Didn't want to show too many. Hope you're doing well. Take care.